Hello, and welcome to Ditch the Dogma, the live show. In today's episode, I'm going to introduce you to an amazing woman. Her name is Jen Bugajsky. And Jen and I are going to talk about, once again, that whole new year, new you narrative. And we're asking the question, does it really empower women? So you can tell by the question in my voice, I'm really questioning that, right? Does it empower women? So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to get my little intro going here, and then we are going to start the conversation with Jen. So here's a beautiful picture of Jen. So before we get started, I wanted to once again let you know that in today's episode, we are talking about the new year, new you narrative once again. Why are we talking about it? Because I think it's really important for women to have this conversation. We're told over and over again that the new year, new you narrative empowers us. But I question that. Does it really empower us? So the woman, the beautiful face you see on the screen here next to me, this beautiful photograph, is a woman. Her name is Jen Bugajsky, and Jen owns a company called the Freedom Keys. And Jen is passionate about women's empowerment and guiding women, helping them rediscover their inner power and their sensuality. In fact, Jen says that one of her superpowers is being able to help women transform from numbness to vitality. So who could I have a better conversation with as to whether or not the new year, new you empowers women other than Jen Bugajsky? So let me go ahead and welcome Jen to our conversation. Jen, welcome. Welcome to Ditch the Dogma.
Thank you so much for having me.
I'm so excited you're here. So I'm going to go ahead and bring us a little bit closer to each other so we can get a little bit intimate here with the community. And why don't you tell us a little bit about what you do, the kind of work you do, and then we'll get into this whole new year, new you conversation.
Sure, yes. So I am a women's empowerment coach, and I focus really on helping women to stop feeling numb and to feel alive in their bodies again. And a lot of this really has to do with breaking free from what I would call generational patterning that we have in our wounded feminine. I think that there are so many things that we have not been taught about what it really means to be a woman in society today. And when we can really tap into the depths of what it means to be a woman, tap into that femininity, sensuality, it impacts all aspects of our life.
So when it comes to the whole new you, I'm sorry, I keep saying new you. When it comes to the whole new year, as we welcome in January, right? This new year, new you narrative. I've been asking women the question, does it really empower us? So we're going to talk about that at length. But right now, quick answer. Do you think it empowers us or do you not?
It's a very interesting question because I've done like words of the month and a word of the year for the last 10 years. And what I think is interesting, what I have seen a lot since probably the end of December is this whole concept of pick your word of the year. Like, what is your word? And there's lots of buzz in regards to that particular topic. But it really makes me wonder if people are using a word of the year as a substitute for picking New Year's resolutions.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. One of the things that when it comes to this whole new year, new you narrative, there's always the slogans, right? There's always the cleanse for the new year, the new diet for the new year. And I have heard a lot about, word of the month and phrases of word of the year or the month or phrases. I have one. And it's something that I love and that's powerful for me. But yes, I think we have to be really careful that I think to some degree, maybe to, how do I put it? Let's take a step back. Resolutions do not have a positive feel around them anymore. We've talked about resolutions for years and years and years. We know that resolutions really don't work. We know that the average person what did I read? Only 8% of people who make a resolution actually commit to it and have it and actually bring it to fruition by the end of the year. Most people lose it by mid-January, so we're almost there. And the few that make it through January make it to the second week of February. And it really seems, from what I've read, is that once mid-February hits, the vast majority of people are out. And if they get past mid-February, they'll make it to the end of the year, but it's only 8% that does that. So when we take a step back from resolutions and we say, well, gosh, these really don't work. Do we really want to put our time and effort into it? The world of wellness, the world of well-being is still looking for new value, new slogans, new way of engagement, new way of waking us all up and talking to us. And so the new year, the new word for the year or a month, a phrase for the year can kind of have that same, I guess I want to hope that it has different results. I want to believe that if I'm going to invest in my phrase for the year, mine, I really love it. I want to share it with you. Seek the light. And I found this. It was a talisman, a necklace that I found. And the idea was that it's got a beautiful moth on it, and what looks like the sun. And it's this idea that moths are drawn to light. Okay. And I too, like I have to admit, I'm drawn to shiny things, right? Oh, okay, a new thing. Oh my God, this, right? Or a new wearable or a new something, right? So when I have this new word and I'm excited about it, whatever it is, this light that I'm drawn to, when a moth is drawn to the light, it eventually dies. So if you look in your house, unless your house is a lot cleaner than mine, if you look, oh, there it goes. Like, when you look up at the light, you'll see you'll see moths in there that got trapped because they were searching for the light. The idea of this necklace is that I search for the light within. So that really lit me up. That was amazing. But can I hold on to it through all of January and through February and carry it with me for all of 2024?
Yeah.
Or is it going to be a beautiful necklace that I bought that I wear and then I forget about it?
And I love it. I think it's a great way for people to have something to focus on. But I really do question if people continue that intentional focus throughout the entire year, right? If we think about a resolution, like if you decide and you have intentional focus on a goal, you're going to achieve it.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing with your word. If you have intentional focus, you're going to achieve that. But it's all about that consistent action and being focused on whatever it is, a word or a resolution.
I also would love for you to talk about this idea that, the new year, the new you. Our last guest made the comment that, she's not a magical unicorn. And that just because, we flip a page on the calendar, yeah, it's a new month, it's a new year, but you're still you.
Yeah.
So I get that women want a new you, but what's actually more realistic and more attainable than jumping for the big new you?
Yeah. I mean, I really think it all comes down to desire and what does a woman really want? What do you want? And I think that what I've seen many times is that sometimes we don't know what we want or we can't claim what we want. And what I'll say, a great example is in my glasses over here, I went on this amazing trip to Italy in October for my 50th birthday.
Cool.
But what's interesting is at the beginning of January, I did not have a goal that said, I'm going to go to Italy. Right? I have vision boards. My word of the year was courage. And it wasn't until June that an opportunity came up and the desire was strong. Right? I claimed, not in January, in June. Right? So it doesn't have to be at a particular point in the year. You can choose you. You can choose desire at any point in the year.
Mhm.
So I think sometimes we use it as an excuse, right? So it's a double-edged sword. We can use it as an excuse, and for some people, it does motivate us, right? There might be group communities or support that are available that help you to have that motivation to achieve a goal. But it all begins with true desire, because when you have a true desire for something, you will take the consistent actions to make it happen and to have it come to fruition.
One of the things you said, your word of the year was courage. You set an intention not to radically change yourself, not to become something different, but just to step into something that I'm going to guess that maybe you felt less than in. You didn't feel like you were this courageous person or as courageous as you wanted to
Sure.
be. Okay.
Yeah.
So you take that word. And what I really, really love is that we want to think new year, new you is going to be boom, I go to Rome, I go to Italy, right? But what was really interesting about your personal story is that had you not focused on courage for 6 months, when when the Italy trip came up, it may have gone in one and out the other because you wouldn't have had the courage to step into it. And
Mhm.
I love that, at least for me and for a lot of women, I think it's when we make big but small changes. Stepping into courage, I know for me, that would be like huge. That is a huge thing to do. It's something that, it's hard for women to wrap their minds around it. Like, what does that mean? Like, I don't have control of this and I don't have control of that. How can I be courageous when I don't know what's coming at me? And that whole idea of uncertainty and all of that. So you have this thing that's big, I'd say bigger than a new you. You know what I'm saying? It's
Yes.
transformational. You focus on
Yes.
that and then you're ready. So talk.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I
I
didn't mean to
like how
cut you
you
off
said
there.
that. No, no. When you said it's transformational, it's not new year, new you. It's the transformation. And like for me, like when I think about transforming, it's about how you feel.
Mhm.
It all goes back down to that vibration and how we're living day in and day out, which it's one of the reasons why I like to talk about sensuality and women's empowerment and getting in touch with our bodies, because I think some of us are so numb that we don't want to feel.
Yeah. It's interesting. I have never been a fan of the word transformation or transformational, and it just came out of my mouth. And I'm sitting here and I'm trying to be a good person and listen to what you're saying and not be like replaying the stuff in my head.
Sure,
But
sure,
I'm thinking,
sure.
oh my God, you just used the word transformational and I dislike it. And the reason that I've always disliked it is for me and maybe for a lot of other women who are listening to this. When I hear transformation, I think before and after picture.
Mhm.
And I'm like, yes,
Yeah.
your after can look better from your before, and that in some way can be externally empowering and things of that nature. I don't want to take away from someone who's had that type of experience, but it's a photo and it's gone. It's a moment and it's gone. Transformation to me is stepping into courage.
Yeah.
It is doing that bigger, harder. Not that losing weight or, changing something, about your physical body that generates a before and after picture doesn't take courage. Of course it does.
Yeah.
But I want things in my life. If I'm going to plan a year around it, I want it juicy. I want it something that I can carry. And then the fireworks like that fireworks was actually kind of a cool thing because
I liked
what
that. It
did
was
that,
really cute.
what did that courage bring? But a yes. It brought a yes. And what is one of the hardest things for women? We say yes to everyone else. How often do we say yes to ourselves, right?
I know. And that's when I use transformation, like that's when the transformation really begins. It's when you say yes to you.
Mhm.
It's not necessarily about what you do. It's about who you are and who you are being. whether you are being courageous or you are surrendering or focused or whatever words there are plenty of them,
Mhm.
but it's allowing ourselves to feel and be.
Yeah. I think that's so important. And I don't know, it's hard for me. I'm kind of new to this whole live thing. But if anybody is listening to us right now and they want to go into the chat and they want to tell us what they want to step into in 2024, I invite you to do that. And I will do my best to see if I can actually pay attention to all the screens and get the comments and do the things. I am in learning mode, so be patient with me. But let's talk a little bit more about when a woman has a need, a want, and a desire. And because, I work with women during, on their well-being journeys, lots of times someone will say to me something like, I want to lose X amount of pounds. And we all know that if we're trying to make big changes in our life based on a size or a number, that usually kind of deflates pretty quickly. And what I try to get from women is, what is it that you're really after? Is it that productivity? Is it the energy that you want to wake up with? Is it love? Is it relationships? Like, what is it that this number signifies for you? What really do you desire? Because you really don't give a darn about the number on your jeans if you look good in them, if you feel comfortable in them, if they make you, proud and you're ready to go out
Feel
there. The number,
sexy. And
the number doesn't matter.
Right.
What matters is what's on the other side of the number. So can you talk about that a little bit?
Yes. So what I think is interesting is I think so many of us don't know how to claim how we want to feel. Like when I talk with people, a lot of times I just hear happy. Like, what do you want this? I just want to be happy. I want to be joyful.
I'm curious. Are they able to define what happy means?
No.
Okay. I had to ask.
So here's what I find fascinating is happy and joyful are probably the two biggest, I'll call them positive words that people want to feel. But it's when you talk about the opposites, I'll call it the negative or the shadow emotion.
Okay.
Like, what is the pain you're feeling? Right? Like when you think about that weight loss, right? Like, how do you feel? Oh, I feel like numb inside. Oh, okay. Numb and happy. What's, it's like look up numb and what's the opposite of numb?
Yeah.
Or, you know what? Like, I'm just really feeling, I'm sad. I feel guilty. I feel overwhelmed. Whatever those words are. One of the things that I've done for years is I do one of these intuitive, word sessions where we pick a word of the month for every month of the year. But what I do is I sit down with women and ask them what their desires are. And many times they can't say what they want. But when I back them into I'll call them shadow feelings, and they can acknowledge that, then they can flip into thinking about a word that is on the positive side.
Okay.
But it's only when we do that activity that they start to see. So it's interesting, they're thinking, oh, I want to lose weight or I want to make more money or whatever. I mean, there's probably the top 10 things.
Right.
Right.
Well, it's usually health and wealth. So yeah.
Health, wealth, love. You know what I mean? Those three things are what people are saying they want. But why? How do you want to feel underneath it at the end of the day? And that's what this is all about. But I think we are so afraid as humans to feel all of our feelings that we kind of numb ourselves out.
I know that you have kids and I have kids, and I find it so interesting that I will say things to my kids that I don't necessarily say to myself,
Okay.
like when we have that conversation where I'm like, money isn't everything. What is happiness? What is going to make you happy? It's not just having a certain amount of money in the bank. It's not about being a particular size, because, I've got 3 girls, you've got boys. I got those too. I got those too. But my 3 girls, when they were younger
Yeah.
and in their teen years and we're watching the Instagram stuff and I'm just like, "Oh my God," and they're looking at that and I'm like, that they're not happy, you know?
Yeah.
There's something to be said. We say we want to be happy, but yet then we go about these kind of external things that we think are going to
Sure.
make us happy, when we're a particular size, when we have a certain amount of money in the bank account, when we create that business, when we do the things. And then we do the things and they're almost like you almost like deflate because they didn't make you as happy as you
Right.
thought they were going to make you. So how do you, beyond picking a word, how do you really help women like hold on to or get define that feeling? Like you're saying it's a feeling.
Yeah.
How do they figure out what that feels like?
Well, they have to be open to
Mhm.
wanting to feel. I mean,
I missed that. Okay, keep talking, keep talking.
yes. So if you think about it, as women, like there's 88 keys on a piano, right? There's
Mhm.
black and white keys.
Okay.
As women, as men and women, right? Doesn't matter what gender you are. We all have feelings. We all have black and white feelings, quote unquote, good and or bad,
Mhm.
right? And you need to be able to experience all of them.
Mhm.
Being human doesn't mean being happy all the time. Now, it doesn't mean you want to be sad all the time, but we need to acknowledge that sadness is a part of life. And if you think about a piano and just music, like if
Mhm.
all you heard was the white keys, right? It would only have a certain sound. And if you only heard the black keys, it would only have a certain sound. But when you take them together and you have this harmony of the black and white keys, then you're able to experience this harmony, this vitality, this, I'll call it aliveness in the music.
Mhm.
And those who like and enjoy music and are moved by music, you all know what I'm talking about. You get moved by the music. And it's the same thing with our emotions, our darker emotions and our, happier emotions. That to truly live an alive life means feeling them all and not looking at them as bad. Because when you are able to experience, I'll say, deep sadness,
Mhm.
you can then experience ecstatic bliss. Like, I don't know if you can see my hands here, right?
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
like
I see him. I
if
see
you
him.
if you only allow yourself to feel this
Right.
much, you're going to stay in this box.
Mhm.
But if you allow yourself to expand and feel and experience that harmony of feelings and not thinking that feelings are bad. I
Mhm.
think we've been taught that anger, guilt, sadness, gluttony, like you name it, they're sinful and wrong. No, they're not.
Mhm.
They're a part of our human reality. We need to feel them and allow them to move through us,
Yes,
right?
express it. Mhm.
Yes, it's feel and express. And we as a society have not been taught how to do that. We've been taught to stuff our emotions and keep them inside,
Until
or
they bottle up and explode.
yes, until they bottle up and explode, or you put lipstick on a pig,
Yeah.
right? It's like, oh, don't be sad, honey.
Yeah.
Just move past that.
Mhm.
And there's a time and a place to allow yourself to put the lipstick on a pig for a moment and be in a happier place so that you can have a distraction. But you have to allow yourself to express and feel the emotions. And I think that as a society we have done a horrible job in teaching all humans. I
Yeah.
don't care if you're man
I
or
or a
woman,
woman. Yeah.
right?
I
on
totally agree with you.
on how to feel, which is why I'm so passionate about this. Because again,
Mhm.
feeling happy or sad, you feel it in the body. You
Mhm.
physically feel it.
Mhm.
And if we don't want to feel it, then we're going to put up armor. We're going to
Yeah.
put up shields and barriers around ourselves so we don't have to feel. So it's hard for us to name words
Mhm.
and to really feel them. Like, so let's take the courage for an example, right? Like, how deep can you go in courage?
Hmm.
You can go deeper. Like, I've been doing these words for 10 years now. And when I do a word of the month, every month of the year, I recycle them, right? Because I use a deck. So there's the same,
Okay.
52 words or whatever that come up. But when I get the same word, 2, 3 years in a row, I'm able to look at that word in more depth.
Mhm.
And it's like, oh, isn't that kind of cool? Rather than just picking a new fancy word for the year,
Right.
I intuitively allow spirit to bring a word to me so that I can then embody that word and spiritually learn
Mhm.
lessons in deeper levels for what that is. And it doesn't just impact one area of my life,
Yeah.
right? It's going to impact all areas because it's how I'm going to show up
Well, our
as
lived
who I am.
experience, right?
Yeah.
That whole new year, new you. What if it was, I guess we can say with the year, because it is a new year, right?
Sure.
But it's
Yes.
a different you. It's a more expanded,
Yeah.
our lived experiences and expressions come with us from year to year. So the word
Right.
courage in 2019, Jen,
Mhm.
is not the same word courage to
Correct.
2023, Jen.
Right.
Wouldn't you agree?
Absolutely.
And I'd also go so far. It's interesting. I had a conversation today with a spiritual coach, kind of about this. Isn't it weird how the universe
I
just knock,
know.
knock, knock, knock,
I
knock, knock.
know.
Hey, Paula, you didn't get
Seriously.
that lesson. Now you're going to have it again with Jen Bugajsky, right? And it just comes back. But the couple of things that she says all the time is yes and. Okay. So that there's more to the expression than just that initial reaction.
Yes.
And then she always says, or she keeps telling me, is that we've been taught to assign good and bad.
Right.
Like anger is supposed to be bad, right? But anger has its positive qualities. And this idea that we're constantly trying to live in this world where we're defining things as good or bad. And then we're talking about emotions that we have this hard time even describing. And then I want to throw in Brene Brown, who I absolutely love, because
Yes.
Brene, have you read Atlas of the Heart?
Hmm.
Okay. So Atlas of the Heart, for those of you who haven't read it, is a book of because the easiest way to explain it is a book of definitions. Okay. I think it's 83 emotions that she actually defines in the book. And what I loved about reading the book was like, I was defining these wrong. Okay. And I remember like compassion and sympathy. And then I was like, well, wait a minute. I'm trying myself. Okay. What's compassion? What's sympathy?
Sure.
And I was like, I was getting stuck. What's jealousy and what's envy? And so we're stuck with emotions that we don't know how to define. We don't really know what they feel like. We have this idea. I mean, there's so much bottled up in this. And I just love this conversation. So thank you for
Yeah.
bringing this all up. So when we get back to the new year, new you, and this idea that we want to look at desires more than, I mean, certain needs are needs. You got to have a roof over your head. There's certain things that, they trump all of the other stuff, right? But when it comes to wants and desires, do you have suggestions or tools or something that kind of helps a woman go from one place to the other? And you know what? I'm going to share your website while we're here, just so anybody who wants to learn more about Jen, I
Cool.
want to make sure that that's up and moving so we can see Freedom Keys there. And I'm also going to add in, we'll leave that going here, but in the chat box, I'm going to add all of Jen's offerings just so that you guys have access to them, and then they'll be attached to the video here. And we're going to go ahead and do that. And that's populating. All right. So can you give us a little bit of an idea of like, where do we start with
Yeah.
even the language?
Sure. And what's interesting is something that might be helpful for people, is I actually have a 6-book series. My second book is actually all about desire.
Okay.
It is about, what is desire? What is desire not? What is pleasure? What is pleasure not? Right? Like, and what gets in the way of
Okay.
us claiming our desires.
Okay.
Because just like people have money blocks
Mm-hmm.
and love blocks and all of the different things out there, we have desire limiting beliefs,
Oh,
right?
okay.
There are generational things that happen to us, you name it, on how we struggle with claiming desire, claiming what we truly want,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like, for those that, have maybe followed me, I do ballroom dancing, right? Like, and I have spent thousands of dollars on ballroom dresses and competitions, etc. And some people are like, oh my gosh, I could never afford that, or could never do that. Well, I didn't sit out one day and say, you know what? I'm going to spend this much money on dancing. It was this desire that came through me. It was me claiming, you know what? I want this.
Mm-hmm.
But we have to do the work that allows us to tap into what it means to have desire. Our desires come from our sacral chakra, right?
So in case
Our
someone is here isn't into
yeah.
chakras, can you give a little bit more
Yes.
like chakra 101 so they have a little bit of understanding?
Yeah, chakra 101. So we've got 7 different energy centers in our body, and each one has a different purpose. And there is one area that is really right around, I'll call it your below your belly button, your womb space
Mm-hmm.
area, which is your life force energy, your creative energy, your sexual energy. This is where our desire actually comes from. And if that energy is blocked and stuck, it's hard to claim desire.
Mm-hmm.
So this is why I think so many women get stuck in claiming what they want, because the energy is clogged. I like to explain to people that, like, energy being clogged is almost kind of like having a stuffed toilet, right? Like, or a clogged toilet, right?
Yeah.
If you have stuff in your toilet, it's not gonna flow, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have to flush it and clean it out, and then it's going to work. And our bodies are the same way.
Yeah.
We hold, I'll call it negative, energies that get stuck in our body. But no one's ever taught us this. We can't see it.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to feel. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
when you are more evolved and you start to learn how to feel energy and that type of thing, it makes it easier. But you still have to, just because you can't see it doesn't mean it's not there,
Yeah.
right? So
Well, just think of tears. I mean, like, look at
yeah.
the number of women. Like, I had a situation today where I was having my spiritual conversation, and I'm texting, and I'm like, oh my God, this happened and that happened, and I said something about whole. I did it again. Oh, see,
Fireworks.
This is spirit telling you how important this is. So I said, I'm holding back tears, and she texted me back. You have to feel it to heal it.
Yes, you do.
And I was like, "Oh, that's good." Because we're told just put it back, stuff it
Nope.
down. And what happens the more you stuff down a toilet?
Right. Exactly. I mean, it's a
Mhm.
crazy example, but it's
But
true.
it's true.
So, but if people are looking for resources, I mean, this is a copy of my second book called The
Okay.
Inquisitive. But I also have a free download. It's called Unlocking Your Feminine Authority. And it actually gives little snippets of each of my books, but it has key 2 in there, which is all about desire. That if people want to get some more information on how to kind of tap into that a little bit, they could actually go ahead and use it as a resource.
Okay. So I'm just curious. I didn't ask you for this, so if I'm throwing you here a little bit of a curve, that's okay. It's just we'll work on it.
Sure.
But I think it's fun if we can leave somebody with, self-awareness is really what you're talking about. And I think whether we want to be healthier, whether we want to have better relationships, better intimacy, better anything, it starts with a little self-discovery and then a little courage to step into that self-awareness piece. So when you're working with somebody who's new and they're like trying to figure out if this is the kind of work that they would want to do, how do you invite them, in the privacy of their own home to get a little taste of that, what self-discovery can reveal and what self-awareness can really teach us? Because we don't necessarily learn in the discovery part. We learn in like you said, and like the woman I was talking to today when she said you feel it.
Mm-hmm.
So is
Yeah.
there any breathing practice? Is there anything? Is there a book? Is there something? I know you got your books, but is there
Mm-hmm.
something tangible, like something we could talk about today, right now, that could be a little tool for stepping into your awareness? Like, how do you presence yourself? Is there a practice that you have for presencing?
Yeah, I have a lot of tools that I use, but there's a handful that are my favorites.
Okay.
I mean, one of my favorites is chakra dance, but
Okay.
I can't teach chakra dance right here. But what I like to say about that modality is that it's called like a moving meditation, right?
Okay.
I hear so many people that say, I can't sit and meditate. I can't be still,
Mhm.
right? So I like to use that because it it integrates the body into the experience as opposed to just
Mhm.
the stillness. So that's one of the tools that I use. I mean, breath work is huge. Um, I
Can we
think the
can we go back to the dance for a second? I have a question.
yes, yes,
Um, there's a woman who I love. Her name is Dr. Katie Blake. She's a social psychologist. And she's taught me a lot about what it means, why we believe the things that we believe, and embodiment. And she was one of my first coaches years ago in that realm.
yep,
And when she talks about dance, just any dance, like as a dancer, like if you really want to tap into an emotion or a feeling,
yes.
is it as simple? Like Katie would be like, dance it out. And all I think about is Grey's
Mhm.
Anatomy because I'm old, and I'm like
Yeah,
Meredith and, her bestie just dancing it out. And I used to think of that as just like a silly thing in Grey's Anatomy, but from an embodiment, it's not silly.
yes. No, it's actually huge. Um, and and I think I've actually worked with Mama Gina
Yeah,
um
it's just cool.
for this past year, and this is one of her biggest tools. It's all about movement and
Mhm.
dance. So you can actually, and I'm going to take that back. I'm going to go back to dance, right? Because I
Okay.
was thinking chakra dance, right? But this is a simpler kind of dance. So you can actually take any emotion
Okay.
and dance to it. There's actually a tool that we use that's called swamping. Swamping is a way for you to, the easiest way to describe it is pick a song,
Mhm.
angry, sad, whatever other feeling you might have, and to melt yourself into the music, to feel it, to move your body to it. Because it's a way for you to be able to move those emotions through. It's
Mhm.
a way to quote unquote clean the toilet,
Okay.
right? Of your own energy. So you could very easily pick a favorite song and dance to it, move it out.
Okay.
One of
So can
my
I ask a
friends,
question? So
yes,
explain something to me. So like say I'm
yes,
sad, okay?
yep,
Like I have one of my daughters, I love her to pieces. She has a depression playlist. And I'm like,
okay,
ew. Ew. So what I'm asking, when you say you're sad and you pick a
yes,
song, you're not listening to a sad song. You're listening to a song that you're moving sadness in and out of the body, not just drenching yourself in it, correct? Or am I
correct. You
wrong?
don't want to drench yourself and
Okay.
just sit in sadness all day long.
Okay.
You want to allow it to move through you, kind of a thing. And this is one of the things I help, do with my clients as well
Mhm.
too, is, picking different songs that might help them move through something. Because when you're in the thick of it, you might not know what to pick, but
Is it
you
the
you could
tempo?
try.
Is it the tempo? Is it the words? Like, what
It
is it that makes it the right song?
It's different every time.
Okay.
That's the thing, is when I pick a song for someone, it's intuitive,
Okay.
right? It's you tell me what's going on. You've got this depression, sadness thing going on. I have tons of playlists for different types of feelings.
Okay.
And we'll pick a couple of songs and we'll hold space while that person like moves through it. Now, here's the other interesting twist, especially when you are doing moving through a sadness type of thing or an anger type of thing, a shadow emotion. When you're done with it, the key is to then move into a turn on type of dance song.
Okay.
So that you move yourself back into that higher vibration, right?
Okay.
So you basically feel the feels of the shadow, which is important, but you don't leave someone ever in the shadow.
Okay.
You want to then find some type of, I'll call it turn on song, happy song, empowerment song, pick me up song, whatever it is that gets you back to where you're raising your vibration into that, I'll call it happy place.
So if someone's listening to this, okay, and they're, you know, they've been impacted by the new year, new you, and they're totally feeling frustrated and overwhelmed, we want to find a song that kind of embodies that. And then we want a song that's like, you got this, you're going to nail it kind of song, right? Is that what you're getting at?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, cool. Could you give us 2 songs? Like, what would you think? Come on. It's got to be fun. We could come up with something. I was just thinking that it would just be so fun. You know what? Even if we can't do it here today, I'm going to bug Jen. I'm going to bug you and see if maybe we can come up with for the new year, and we'll throw it on social media and we'll share it to anybody who, you know, who likes the video, who subscribes to Ditch the Dogma, who follows us on socials. If we could come up with like some emotions that the new year, new you evoke that are not so positive.
Yeah.
And then a song to like work that baby out.
Yeah.
And then the next song to really carry us into 224.
Yeah.
Like to really, I want to knock this year out of the friggin' park. I mean, I think a lot of us, you know, we've had our time to kind of regroup from the last couple of years that we don't want to call anything, you know, let it be gone, right? And walk into, you know, 2024 with compassion and love, because you know, who doesn't want that? But a real ability to take some of this overwhelm and frustration and move into empowerment. So I know I hit you on the spot with this, but
you know what? Like you just gave me an idea.
I go ahead.
What I think I want to do is make a list and have it as a free offer for people.
Awesome. I love that. I love that.
Like, because what you're just showing here is letting people know that this is important, but it's like, what are the songs? Like I've had people say to me, like, I don't know what angry songs are. Like, I don't know how to find an angry song.
Ask a teenage boy.
Because that was me. I didn't know how to find an angry song. I really didn't, because anger was not appropriate. So I get that for the people that are out there thinking, oh, I don't know how to find an angry song. Trust me, I get it. Right.
Yeah.
So, but I think that would be of great value to people to say, okay, here's a handful of songs for this. I laugh because there's 2 songs that are coming into my head right now.
Okay. What are they? What are they? Okay. Right? That's the positive. We're ready to go. Yeah.
Fire, you know,
love it.
And I laugh because there's another song that you could have it almost be somewhat angry, but also positive as well too. It's the song Bitch by Meredith Brooks.
I don't think I know that one.
So it's the song that says, I'm a bitch, I'm a lover, I'm a child. I'm a mother,
okay, I
I'm
do
a
know
sinner,
it. Okay,
I'm
okay.
a saint. I do not feel ashamed.
We're all the things.
You know, right. Yeah. So it's interesting, but I've listened to it in both ways. Ooh. Because when there are times when I was just feeling like I didn't want to be a bitch, right? Like, how many of us out there like, I don't want to be the bitch. I don't want to be the bad person, you know, whatever. That like, there were times where I listened to it to like feel the negative feels. And then there were times where I've listened to it as I've got this. I got both sides of it. Right. So that's where it's like,
and that's what whole is, right? That's what whole is.
Right.
Both.
Exactly.
Both
it's,
and.
It's
there we go.
Whole, which is why I love that song as an example, because you can use it for both. It just depends on where you're at and what you're moving through in the moment. So I love this. Now I'm inspired to
Okay,
put this
cool.
together.
I gotta say, I know we're running on
I
45
know.
minutes here and we're running long, but I just want to thank you for
Yes.
coming on and having this amazing conversation with us. I'm going to go ahead and hit your website one more time so people can see it while I close up here. This is what Ditch the Dogma is all about. And this series that I'm doing right now, this New Year, New You narrative, is inviting amazing women like Jen to come on and to talk to us. These are coaches that have great offerings. They're authors like Jen here. They have programs. They have amazing things that you can go and check out. But they're also about helping you empower yourself. And they don't want to necessarily come in and take over your life and tell you that they have all the answers for you. They know that the answers that you need are the answers that are already within you. It's just that sometimes it's hard to get them out, to find them and to feel them. So thank you, Jen, for spending this time with us today. Thank you, anybody who watched us live, and we'll be on our socials. Jen, I shared them in the chat box. So anybody who's looking for Jen's socials, you can get them there. And if you, you know what, can you give us your Instagram handle? Is that where you have your bio listing, or is that someplace else where you have all your offerings?
The bio listing is actually on my Facebook page.
It's on your Facebook page.
Yeah.
So how would somebody find you on Facebook? Because the links were too long to have them scroll.
Oh, gotcha. So on Facebook, you can look up my full name, Jennifer Clark Bugajsky.
Okay.
And in the little Facebook section, it has like my bio link there that gives you.
Oh, and you
links
have a
to-
free community too, right?
a free community and
On
a podcast.
Facebook?
I was just remembering.
Oh
that
yeah,
too.
wait, yeah, hang on, everybody. Before we end, we got to finish up here. So I put all this information in the chat, so you've got it. But Jen, tell us a little bit about your free Facebook group. Tell us about your podcast. These are all offerings where women can get a boatload of information, and they don't have to go into their pockets to get it.
Yeah. So what the Facebook group is called The Sensual Feminine Life. It's just another place to come where, we have open dialogue and conversation that you're not necessarily going to have in the public space.
Is this it? I just put it on the screen.
Yep,
Is that correct?
that's it. That's
Okay.
perfect.
All right.
The other thing that I have that I introduced last year is my podcast. It's called The Sensual Feminine Life Podcast.
Okay.
And it is on Spotify as well as iTunes.
Okay.
And this is a great way for people to, I'll say, lurk and listen.
Okay.
Right? Like nobody needs to know that you're listening, right?
Sure.
That's the whole thing, right? Because I talk about things, love, sex, relationships, money, power, you name it, right? And when I talk about pleasure and sexuality, people are like, I'm curious, but I don't want anybody to know.
Okay.
So that's a great way to just hear the topics that are going on. It's so important for us to get exposure to more education on some of these topics. So those are some of the free places where you can get, additional information.
Here's the Freedom Keys on Instagram.
Yes.
So a lot of these, you don't really need the links. If you can remember the names, you're good. And your book series, where would they find that, Jen?
There's a link that's in the bio link.
The bio link, or I think I have that. Let me grab it really quick and I will put it up. It's just, I don't know that everyone's going to be able to you can't click on the screen and go to it.
Yeah, no,
but I will make sure that they're all in the show notes.
Okay.
So anyone who is watching today, just know that you can go to the show notes and you'll get it. And then here's the bio site for Jen. So you just go to bio.site, Jen Bugajsky, and then you'll have everything you want. That's Jen galore. So Jen, thank you so much for being with us. Please, everybody, like and subscribe to Ditch the Dogma. It's a brand new channel, and it is something that I'm really excited about, and I think something that women really need. I know I need it. So thank you for being with us, Jen, and I'm going to go ahead and remove this. Any last words before we say goodbye?
Thank you for having me. This has been amazing. I'm happy to be here. And I think this is a great conversation that you're continuing to have by bringing more guests on and providing more education for people on this topic and this narrative.
And I hope you'll come back and talk with us on Ditch the Dogma a whole bunch of times.
Of course. I have lots of topics that would be fun to talk about.
Wonderful. Hi, I'm so excited. All right. Thank you, everybody, and have a great evening, or at least what's
Good
left of
night.
it. Good night.